Happy Monday, and welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, back from the Easter weekend. Did you go on any Easter egg hunts?
No, Sean, I was thinking this morning, Easter is second only to Halloween in amount of candy consumed, though, right? It has to be that way.
Yeah, we, like a lot of places, we had to move our little egg hunt inside just for the two girls, and we kind of had like an egg disaster on our hand. So yeah, my wife put some money in two different eggs.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money, just a few bills.
Couple hundred.
Yeah. And I was in charge of hiding the eggs, and it was like several eggs, but the two gold eggs had the dollar bills in them, or the money in them.
Uh-huh. And
one of them was found. One of the other eggs with the money just went missing.
Boy, that's awkward.
So there's an egg in our house
that's awkward.
that has like 10, 20 bucks in it. Yeah. That's gone.
Oh, okay. 10, 20, not a problem.
But my youngest, it was supposed to be her egg. So what did she do? She goes in my office. She goes where I keep some cash, and she pulled money out of the drawer and said, "This is for the egg."
Carly?
Yes.
We didn't have anything like that. No, just too much sugar consumption that lasted right up until I came to this show. I gotta like just cut the sugar consumption. And then of course you brought caramel corn in here. I'm like, oh God, I just can't get away from it.
I got coerced into buying that at Hallmark.
That's not part of Easter festivities.
No, we were in Hallmark on Saturday, and I bought that as well. But I'm drinking sugar-free Crani-Yum right now, at least. So
I'm in trouble sugar-wise.
All right, well, let's get into it. Full show on tap here as we kick off spring game or Husker Games week, as I should call it. And let's get to headline number one. Headline number one, Saturday is going to be really the last rodeo for Nebraska's great walk-on program. And, you know, you're like, what do you mean? Well, it really is. I mean, you think about this. This is the first time really in the modern history of Nebraska football that they have not signed a single walk-on in their walk-on class because of the 105 roster numbers. Well, they're going to have to get down to 105 players seemingly by July 1. There's currently on the roster around 100 players that you would almost categorize as true scholarship players.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of wiggle room for walk-ons anymore. Now, all these walk-ons are still a part of the program right now. They're going through spring practice. And Matt Rule said on Thursday, we're going to give these guys one more opportunity, one more moment in this stadium to kind of prove themselves. When you think about just kind of what that picture is and what it means, it is a sad day for the program to realize how important this walk-on program was to the history. And this is technically it.
They have about 130 players on the current roster. So how's he put it, Sean? They have like 57 on the 57 first line guys, and there's 57 second line guys, and a few that are trying to hang in there kind of. So 130. You see the issue though. They got to get to 105, and that's like July 1, right? July 1.
Well, you can go into training camp with 115 still, but when the season starts, you have to be at 105 active. So your injured players would not be on your 105 active for the whole season.
Right. Okay. So they haven't recruited a single walk-on. You're right. It's the end of an amazing sort of period that began in the 70s with Bob Devaney. And then,
really the 60s.
Well, the 60s, they didn't have scholarship limits in the 60s, so
they still took walk-ons.
Did they take walk-ons?
Yeah, Jim Walden and I talked about it.
Is that right?
In the book interview, and he's like, yeah, our selling point was, like, hey, you get a practice, you be a part of something special, and we give you a dinner, and you get free dinner at the training table, and guys thought that was a hell of a deal.
So here's the deal. So fans will understand this. Nebraska, and I don't say this lightly, it had the best of kind of two really distinct worlds in college football. It was like a utopia, because there were many times 70s, 80s, and especially 90s, where Nebraska's roster was as powerful as current day Ohio State. But also, they had this incredible walk-on program. So think about Ohio State with a storied walk-on program, which Ohio State doesn't have. Nebraska had this. I look at it, it just hit me the other day. It was like a utopia. Like in the 90s, I was looking at the 97 depth chart. Think about it, Sean. 97, that team was so powerful. It was like Ohio State today, right? You had Amon Green. At I-back. He was the number one I-back going into that season on the depth chart, and I think he was number one all year, right? And then at fullback, who'd you have? Makovica. He had this premier walk-on fullback, one of the most powerful blocker runners in America. I was looking at the depth chart. You had Jay Foreman at middle linebacker, but right behind him was Ben Butenbach, walk-on. It was an incredible time for Nebraska. It was a long period for Nebraska.
Well, and I think the winning that Devaney and Osborne did bred to what it became, because locally everybody strived to get to that point, and everybody ran the same weight program as Boyd Epley. Everybody ran the same offense as Tom Osborne. I mean, if you went in any Nebraska high school weight room in the 90s, they all had the Boyd Epley hammer machines.
Yep.
We all ran the same plays.
Yep.
No one threw the ball. It was power option running football offenses for the most part across the state of Nebraska. And you don't really have that anymore because of all the changes, where you could actually make that case. We do have it though with volleyball in the state.
Yep.
With what John Cook and Terry Pettit have done. Like every girl, strives to be a volleyball player for Nebraska, or a high level volleyball player, because of how John Cook raised the bar. And that's what football once was at the high school level around Nebraska, where everybody wanted to be a part of it here because it was the best in the country.
Right. And there's another part of it. Exactly, Sean, you nailed it. And then the other part, this is a part of the discussion that a lot of people simply can't grasp, but you can. What happened with Nebraska was very unique, because if you had a walk-on player from your hometown, even if he didn't play at all, we had a kid from Columbus named Tom Nelson who was the quarterback for Columbus, never played here, but he walked on. And Columbus as a town latched onto that so hard. It was this identifier. We were like, well, yeah, we have Tom Nelson on the team. And then, there's subsequently a lot of other Columbus players who played. But even if all these little towns throughout Nebraska, if they had a walk-on player, it was gigantic for the town. We're losing that, Sean.
And when that guy
we lost it.
And when that guy came back, I can remember.
You know what I'm talking about?
Like Kozad, when they won the national title, Brendan Holbein, and Chris Dishman,
Dishman scholarship player,
were from Kozad,
right?
But when they came back,
huge.
I mean, it was like conquering kings coming down.
No doubt.
They held like a parade for him,
right? No,
and that was how it was at all. Like Omaha Groves, where I went, when I was in college alone, we had 3 players from my high school team that were walk-ons.
Who'd you have? Do you remember?
Steve Safranek, Brian Hale, and Dan Swantek.
Yeah.
And they never played, down of significance, but they were on the team. And so like you connected that with where you were from. Like, these were the guys I grew up with, and they're playing for Nebraska.
Safranek became pretty notable because I think he signaled in plays for Bo, right?
Yeah, he was right-hand man of Bo. Yeah. And guys battle injury, but that was the process. It was kind of process of elimination. Like you'd get a lot of these guys that had the potential, and you didn't want them all to work out, but you knew some would.
God, what a period. I'm glad, Sean, I'm really glad you gave it voice in your column today. I mean, and I'm going to too tomorrow in a little different kind of way, but that is I don't want to say I hate to say it's sad. It just is what it is, right? But it kind of
the game is different.
Yeah,
NIL and rev share. It's a lot more. The walk-on program, we can argue it changed dramatically once Division II football at the highest level became FCS football. The Dakota teams and UNO got rid of football but the Dakota teams all became Division I FCS.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of once that happened, those teams became attractive options to recruit local Nebraska players.
Yeah, good players, good players.
Those were the players that walked on at Nebraska for decades.
Yeah.
Where it just wasn't feasible with the cost of college now for a lot of families to pay full freight when you got full rides.
Right.
I mean, that's the other reality of what it all became. I often wonder if UNO would have kept football and they went to FCS.
Oh yeah.
I think they would have been pretty good.
I think so too.
And people will tell, a lot of people will tell you they know they would have been pretty good. I mean,
because there's so many good players around here just like that.
Well, think about the coaches they had at the very end besides Pat Burns. I mean, they had Lance Leipold.
They had Lance Leipold calling plays. They had Marvin Sanders calling.
They had
defense.
Connor Riley, now the Dallas Cowboys O-line coach. I mean, they were Scott Fuchs, Tennessee Titans assistant O-line coach. They were loaded with coaches.
Yeah, go back to Lance Leipold. Look what he's done. And he was the offensive coordinator at UNO. I don't know how many years, maybe a couple years, but he called plays.
Yeah, you had Fuchs, you had Sanders.
Marvin, yeah.
I mean, you had all these other guys, Connor Riley. Hell, you had Kevin Kugler on the play-by-play. I mean, they had a lot of things rolling there.
They did. Well, I'm glad you gave voice to that show.
All right, well, let's take it to headline number 2. Before we get to it, though, we're brought to you by Crani-Yum Energy Drink. I came in dragging. I'll be honest. I was
Easter takes it out of it.
But I'm back up to full speed, and I'll give Crani-Yum a lot of credit here because it gave me the kick I needed here. If you're not familiar, created by 2 lifelong Nebraska and Husker fans based out of Fremont. Crani-Yum is a new type of energy drink. It's highly dosed nootropics, enhanced mental clarity and focus with just 150 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine. It's sugar-free, naturally flavored, no artificial colors, making it healthier to a healthy alternative to other energy drinks on the market. You can buy it locally in your Hy-Vee health markets, or you can order it online. Just go to Drink Crani-Yum. That's Y-U-M at the end. That's Crani-Yum.com. Use the promo code HuskerOnline, and you will get 10% off your order. Comes in 3 great flavors: peach ring, Dr. Yum, as well as grapefruit, which I'm drinking right now.
Before we get to this next topic, I said something just a little bit ago that no man should ever say, and I regretted it immediately. Easter takes it out of you. I don't know. It doesn't. Just you got to stop with that.
The guy on the construction site listening to the podcast right now just literally rammed his hammer.
I hope he didn't ram his hammer anywhere, but Easter takes it out of you should never be said. So I retract that. Thank you. Go on.
Right. Let's take it. Thanks again to Crani-Yum for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. All right, go to headline 2. What will Saturday's Husker Games event look like? And let me ask, we have to call it Husker. I mean, can we just say we're going to call it the red white? But if they play a red white scrimmage, can they call it the red white game, or is it still going to be the Husker Games?
Well, we know now they're going to play. They're going to put the ball down. Lower units are going to play like second, third, fourth teams, whatever it is. They're not. Matt Rule has said they're not going to play the starters. So I don't know what I call it. The spring culmination event. That's what I call it. Husker Games. I don't know. I've heard you do some interviews, Sean, with other outlets. You strike me as pretty skeptical about what this day is going to look like. Is that an accurate read?
It's just, I'm kind of like with you in the sense that it's hard to embrace some change when you know what they had before was the best in the country. And so call me a little skeptical, but here's the early rundown that was released earlier. For $50, you can get tours of the new Osborne Legacy Tour complex from 8 to noon. From 8 to 2, there's a food truck festival in the East Stadium. That was on the original schedule. Then from 9 to 1, it's the Husker equipment sale in the Hawks Indoor Center. And then Husker Games football in Memorial Stadium. The gates open at 12:30 with activities beginning at 2. This was the original schedule. 7-on-7 football, skills contests, other competitions featuring the 2025 Nebraska football team, Husker football legends participating in competitions and skill contests, women's flag football game between Midland University and UNL All-Star intramural team at 1.
Okay.
So that was kind of what the schedule was before, but now we know that there is going to be football worked into that.
Mm-hmm.
So what will that look like?
Well, it'll look like that. And full disclosure, the spring game became something that wasn't really appealing to me, but now I feel kind of guilty about the way I used to sort of grouse about it. Thank God I didn't do it. I don't think I did a lot of that publicly because now those spring games might look like the Super Bowl compared to what we're going to see.
I mean, Michigan held their spring game Saturday, and they drew a good crowd, 40,000-ish.
Yeah, 40,000. That's what was reported at.
Bryce Underwood threw 26 passes in the game. I mean, they played everybody. It was
they played the big dollar quarterback who may or may not win that job, but yeah, you saw they played. They made a tough decision. Rule, and I'd say Dannon. They made a tough decision in this case to pull back because Matt didn't like the idea of putting his frontline players out there for the world to see.
But the portal closes the day before. They could still see him for future portals, though, right? As long as but what if you just don't air it on TV?
Right. There's tampering, though, and you put a few guys out there that might not be necessarily known, and now they're known, right? But not if it's not on TV. I hear you, Sean.
But it's also like at a place like Nebraska, if a couple guys do well, it's naturally going to get a lot of hype.
And now, exactly. Now we should acknowledge the possibility that this is going to be a resounding success. It could be. Maybe they have a formula cooked up over there that they're going to come back on Monday and say, hey, Sip and Sean, what'd you think about that? Because we just drew 25,000 people and they seem to love it. We have to leave open that possibility. Would they draw 25? Do you think they'll draw 25?
No. I mean, I don't know.
That was a hard no, Sean.
I don't know if that agenda before is going to do it. I mean, it just comes off as the jack of all trades, the master of none.
Right.
Like they're just doing a bunch of things, but what is it?
Right.
Like you knew what you were going there before to watch on that Saturday, and you were willing to want to come down. And I mean, think about when Scott Frost took the job. I mean, they sold out the spring game in a few hours.
Wasn't that long ago.
And those were $10 to $20 tickets.
If they just did a spring game this year, I don't think the crowd would be gigantic, but there would be some appeal of seeing Raiola Dillon throw to for instance, the new receivers, Dane Key. What's that look like?
And maybe he'll throw to them in 7-on-7 or who knows. And look, maybe Matt Rule will have a hard U-turn on this and they'll surprise everybody on Saturday and play some of these guys. Who knows?
If you are the head coach, you've said before you'd be concerned about injury. Of course, you're concerned about injury. Always concerned about injury. Hell, you're concerned about injury in 7-on-7. But there's going to be people in the comments, Sean, that don't like us sort of belly aching about this. I'm going to proceed with an open mind, I guess, and just see what it looks like. But I'm not going out there to catch.
No, and remember, it's going to be about these players that this could be their last time ever doing this.
Oh, now when you get to the live scrimmage action, that I'm looking forward to. That'll be football. You'll see some football, and that helps. But and I think this is what you're alluding to. I just would have liked to see Matt take it a step further and have the starters out there for a couple series. Easy for me to say, I know, but I think, Sean, this is not about you and me. It's not at all, really. It's about the fans. And in this day and age of college football, I said it before on our show the other day, in this day and age, with all these sort of turnoff elements to college football, you have to take care of your fans now more than ever. Now more than my lifetime. in any point in my lifetime. You got to take care of
Yeah,
them.
for the sellout streak to sustain in the next 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to take a lot.
You got to take care of them. You got to take care of them. And this would have been a way to do it. We're second guessing right now, which is sort of unappealing.
We're second guessing because we've seen what these other things have looked like.
That's the part of the, I'm glad you brought that up. We're second guessing because we've seen the crowds for the Sooner Combine. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, in Alabama,
which drew 12,000.
Wisconsin,
which drew 7,600. But it didn't look like that to me. It was really paltry. Yeah, you've seen crowds down all over the country. So we've had sort of this precursor. And you're like, and I know how you are, Sean, you cringed. You're like, oh God, is this what we're going to see here? Yeah, probably.
Well, because you think about it, in the modern history of Nebraska football, demanding on, when has Nebraska football gone in that stadium for an event where they sold tickets to it, where it's looked like what you saw at Wisconsin?
You think that's what it's going to look like?
I mean, you hope not, but you're nervous that it will, and that's not good.
No, I saw that photo. I know the photo you're talking about.
It looked like the Class C championship game.
Yep.
I mean, and that's, you don't want that postcard fodder out there. Like, and that's what I work, because people will use that against Nebraska.
You know what, Sean? You're telling some hard truths this morning.
Well, I know what people do against Nebraska. I know what they'll do. They'll say, look at this. Once a proud program, look at this now. Like, and it's not, I mean, look,
it's not that though.
but
right?
it's
still a proud
but
program.
it will get misused.
Yeah.
The picture of that by your enemies and other people out there.
Is that Matt Rule's concern? Or is his concern?
Well, like he said, he goes, I'm not serving two masters. My job is to win games at Nebraska.
Win at a high level.
And he can't, you're right. He can't try to appease 25 different people's opinions on this.
How much of his job is to build fan enthusiasm for the spring culmination event? I don't think it's not part of his job entirely, but it can't be it can't define it in any way. Now, yeah, so he's in kind of a spot, and I think that began to hit him
last week.
Yeah, going by the way he approached his Thursday press conference. I am not suggesting that he decided to have some live scrimmage action because of his perception that this might not go well from a crowd standpoint. He didn't say that. He said he's doing it for those kids.
Yeah, there's lower unit guys that you want to be looked at. I mean, in this case, like,
good point.
They need it.
They need some tape out there. And there's a few guys that people might watch and go, okay, we could use him. We could use that player. That would be beneficial.
All right. Before we go to headline 3, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by BetterHelp. And look, there's a lot going on. End of the year, you got a lot of things going on with kids' activities. Who knows what could be really bringing you down with day-to-day stress and some of the realities you might battle. And sometimes the best way to do it is to talk to somebody through these issues, somebody that can listen to you and help you get through the different issues you might be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And there's no better way to do that than with therapy and through BetterHelp. BetterHelp makes it easy. It's it's one of those things where they find the correct therapist to match what you need, and then most importantly, you schedule it on your time. You find a time that works. You don't have to go somewhere to do this. They do it right on your device, your computer, your phone, however you want to do it, and they help you through those different issues that you might be battling. If you've never tried BetterHelp and say, you know what, I need to talk to somebody, this will be the best way for me to do it. Go to their website, betterhelp.com/Husker, and you'll get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. Again, that's betterhelp.com/Husker, and they're going to give you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. With more than 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people. Again, that's betterhelp.com/Husker for 10% off. Thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines. All right, let's take it to 3. Headline 3, North Dakota State running back Charmar Brown will visit Nebraska on Thursday. As you would say, hello.
It's big news, Sean. You broke that last night. That is a Sunday night. No, he's going to go in Miami first.
He's in Miami on Monday today.
He's at Miami on
and
Monday.
He's scheduled to visit Nebraska Thursday.
And anything else on the docket that we know of?
Nothing more on the docket. I mean, Nebraska is the only other visit in the book. So I do think, they're in a good position. As far as,
do you think they're in a good position?
A lot of it is how bad will Miami want him and push. Brown has also received interest from Cal, Arkansas, and West Virginia in terms of heavy interest. He's been contacted by a lot of people, but those are the other main players.
Skip Cal. I'm gonna if Marty, I'm gonna call him Marty. Charmar Brown, Marty Brown. Marty, don't go to Cal. It's a mess. They
lost 4 running backs.
Cal's got Ron Rivera there as their GM. There's a big. The boosters are squat. They're fighting and saying that Ron Rivera should run that program, not Justin Wilcox. Don't go there. Arkansas, I don't know. What's the other one? West Virginia. Got Rich Rod there.
No, I think it's Nebraska and Miami.
Do you? So Miami, the question is, how much will they offer? That's the question, right? Isn't that the question, Sean?
Well, and that and the opportunity. Now, they like to play 3 running backs.
Okay, and they got 2.
And they returned. So the Hurricanes lost their leading rusher,
Damian Martinez,
1,000-yard rusher, 10 touchdowns. They returned Mark Fletcher, 607 yards, 9 TDs. And then his backup would be Jordan Lyle, 400 yards, 4 TDs.
Okay.
So they have 1,000 yards and 13 TDs of production. Stack that against Nebraska. Emmett Johnson, nowhere near 1,000-yard back.
908 yards of all-purpose yards, I think, is the number.
When you count the receiving and the rushing.
Right. I've watched Charmar Brown. I think he'd be number 2. I don't think he could come in. I've watched him, Sean. I watched him last night. I don't think he could come in and beat out Emmett Johnson, but I think he could be number 2.
Because here's the reality. In most football games, you're going to have about 30 carries to tailbacks. You can't give Emmett Johnson 30 carries.
No.
You can give him 18.
It's just all this is kind of, you just don't know what the discussions are like. Like, what's Miami going to promise him? Money wise, carries wise, they got to make some promises. That Rule is not the type to make crazy promises to anybody. Now, I'm not saying that Mario Cristobal will do that, right? I'm not saying that, but I'm not saying he won't. I'm saying that I know Matt Rule doesn't do that.
What I will say, though, is the distance will play a factor, too. I do think for Brown, being closer to family so they can watch him play is a big deal.
I would think that's a big deal. Miami's.
Like, I think about if you were a local guy from Nebraska and you wanted to go here, well, the Huskers play 12 games, right? 7 are in Lincoln. 1 is in Arrowhead Stadium. That's a drive. That's 8 you can get to easily. Another one's in Minnesota. That's 9. So, like, you got 9 games on the schedule where his family would have no problem making it to. And then you have UCLA, Maryland, and Penn State.
I wonder if his family cares at all about this. This used to be a tailback U. Michael Severe, apologies to you. I know USC's probably the original Michael Severe.
You're bracing yourself from that Michael Severe text.
Yeah, no, he texted me about USC basically being tailback U. There was a time when Nebraska could almost lay claim to that, and a lot of that was because of the Omaha backs. Rip through them, Sean. Omaha backs. Leotis Flowers, Amon Green, Keith Jones. Who else? Ken Clark. When we do this, it's very dangerous because we'll miss somebody.
Well, you think
Clinton Childs, Damon Benning. Don't miss those guys. Clinton Childs, Damon Benning. You just had such a pipeline from Omaha. Give us that again. Give us a little bit of that. Give us a memory. Creighton Prep kid, Omaha kid. Love to see him here.
218-pound.
5'11", 218. Watched him. Looks like a Big Ten running back. Not fast around the edge, but tough inside.
He's a 4 to 6 yard kind of physical. And Prep ran a physical offense with him too.
He's physical.
Like, I mean, he's a physical. Hard runner.
Yeah. Yeah, he averaged 4.8 yards a carry at North Dakota State. He'd come in and make an impact.
Now, I don't know if they've updated the rankings yet, but I was talking to Pete Nakos last night, and he thought that he'll end up being the number 1 available running back in the transfer portal.
Is that right? Is that right?
They have not. Let's just see if they've updated the rankings on that for the transfer portal. But yeah, they he's got a chance to be as highly ranked as any player in the transfer portal here. So hold on here. Let's see if I don't know if they've ranked him yet at this point. Yeah, he's not. Oh, he's ranked 4th at this point. Javion Thomas from Cal is ranked 1. Anthony Carey from Georgia Tech 2. Branson Robinson from Georgia 3. Then Charmar Brown, but he carries an 88 transfer grade, which is tied with the other 2 guys ahead of him. And then Javion Thomas from Cal is an 89.1 transfer grade.
Okay.
So he's right up there. I mean, he's definitely one of the top 3 or 4 transfer backs in the portal.
Got to watch this. I don't know why I'm always a little skeptical about what Miami might do.
Well, because they'll throw out silly money sometimes.
Will they?
I mean, they've done that. They've got just unique booster support there. I mean, Carson Beck got
$4 million,
a deal that caused the whole Nico Amaliva deal at Tennessee.
Yeah, I was playing Babe in the Woods there a little bit. That's what I'm afraid of, is that Miami's going to drive up that price. And Nebraska won't play that game, I don't think. I don't think they'll play that.
They won't overpay. I mean, they wouldn't overpay to keep Dante Dowdell.
That's what I mean.
And Matt Rule doesn't strike me as a guy when you go to meet with him and say, hey, you need to match this offer or I'm leaving. I think Matt Rule tends to be more in the camp of than thank you. Yep. Well, best of luck.
That's my read on Matt too, and I kind of like that about him. And their other read is he likes Ives. He likes Quentin Ives. Emmett's Emmett. They always say that, right? Emmett's Emmett. We got Emmett Johnson, but Matt Rule has quadrupled down on Ives. You heard Barthel, EJ talk about Quentin Ives in glowing terms. You've heard Dana Holgerson talk about Quentin Ives in glowing terms. They feel like they have something there. So they're probably – you can't ignore Marty Brown, but you don't have to have him, I don't think.
I will say, though, like until this year with Jamarion Parker and Connor Booth, Nebraska really didn't have a lot of great running back recruits come in this program. I mean, Emmett Johnson was a freshman during the 2022 season. He was
late ad.
He was a late ad by the Frost staff.
Yep. Late ad.
So none of their older primary backs, Mekhi Nelson, a late ad, Quentin Ives, a late ad. These were not like highly courted backs by Nebraska that were.
I want to see a highly quarterback, right?
That was not, and that's why they had to bring Dowdell in. I mean, and look, Gabe Irvin was, injured guy. Ramir Johnson battled injuries. They've had a really bad run at the running back position in terms of the injuries and just some of the coaching changes that have put them in the spot where none of these running backs have been like like a Marlon Lucky or Amir Abdullah, somebody that they jumped on and stayed with the whole recruiting process. Mm-hmm. Now, Jamarion Parker, Connor Booth, yes, but they don't have many other guys like that for the future.
It's good summation, Sean.
All right, let's go to headline 4. But before we do that, Husker on the headlines brought to you by our friends at HelloFresh. And you've heard me talk about HelloFresh before. Unbelievable product and service. And if you're not familiar with HelloFresh, they bring it all to you. And sometimes you want to cook. You want to try to cook new things at home. You want it to be healthy. But it's not easy to do. You don't have time to go to the store. You don't have time to figure out recipes and get all the things that you need. Well, they do it all for you. And HelloFresh every week has, several 40 plus, 50 plus options of recipes every week. And you pick what you want. It could be carb based. It could be keto. It could be spicy, vegetarian, chicken, steak, you name it. They do seafood. And every week they send it right to your house in a cooler. And you can say, hey, I need meals for 2 people. My wife and I want dinner. I want to be home to cook dinner twice a week for 2 people, for 4 people, whatever the number is. You can do up to 4 meals per week, whatever the meal number is. They'll bring that to your door. And it's fun. You get the recipe card with all the ingredients you need, including the spices, and you cook it up at home. We recently got some, Sybil got some, and man, my family loved the meals and the different options. And it kind of makes you feel like you can cook. I'm like, God, I mean, I made this.
Good job, Sean.
So HelloFresh, if you never tried it, we got a great deal. They're going to give you 10 free meals with a free item as well for life over the life of your subscription. You need to go to HelloFresh.com/Husker10FM. That 10FM stands for 10 free meals. And you're going to get the 10 free meals with a free item for life as well with your active subscription with your box. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/Husker10FM. Thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring us here on Husker Online. Headlines. Okay, 4. Huskers could have one of its best NFL drafts since joining the Big Ten Conference. I don't know if you knew this, Sip, but since Nebraska's joined the Big Ten, the most draft picks they've had was 4 in a class.
I ain't going to cut it.
Their final Big 12 team, 2010, the 2011 draft, I forget what the total number was, but it was like 7. I mean, 7 picks.
They had it was Prince Amakamara, by the way, which was Nebraska's last first round guy. Prince Amakamara went 19 to the Giants. Halu went in the 4th round. Alex Henry went in the 4th round. Kicker went in the 4th round. DeJong Gomes went in the 5th. Niles Paul went in the 5th. Keith Williams went in the 6th. Keith Williams. Eric Hagg went in the 7th. Keith Williams went in the 6th round. I forgot.
But that puts in perspective the depth those teams had.
Yeah.
To win 8, 9, 10 games, you got to have depth like that.
Mm-hmm. Depth of talent.
And Nebraska hasn't had that. Well, they didn't win 9 games. They won 7, but they had talent and they had some depth this past year at some key positions. Mm-hmm. And they're in a position, I think, to minimally get 3 picks. But I think 4 or even 5 could happen.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, just start up front.
Ty Robinson.
Ty Robinson's going to go off the board first, almost for sure.
And Thomas Fedoni.
You think Fedoni would be second?
Probably.
Do you think so?
Who would go ahead of him? Tommy Hill. I think you're taking a big chance drafting Tommy Hill that high. Fedoni had a phenomenal draft.
It'd be Fedoni next. Then Tommy Hill, Isaiah Mayor, and Nash. Those are your guys. They all have a chance to get drafted. There might be a flurry in late. There might be a flurry in the 7th.
Well, and then there's some wild card. I'm not saying like Ben Scott or
wild card
or Bryce Benhart.
Those are wild cards.
Isaac Gifford.
Those are wild cards. No, those are good wild cards. Those are 7th round potential guys, I think. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, remember Gifford at Big Ten Media Days last year? Said he had a decision to make. It got my attention. I was like, really? You had a decision?
Well, he had a great pro day.
Decision to make, meaning he almost opted to go to the NFL.
But if they are able to somehow get 5, what a wonderful kind of step in the right direction that would be to say, hey, this is the most draft picks Nebraska's had since they joined the Big Ten.
That would be a step in the right direction, except for one element. You got to start seeing first rounders or second rounders. Now, you did see second rounders in 2022. You saw 2 of them, in fact, with Cam Jurgens and Cam Taylor Britt, both second rounders. Sean, I can't emphasize enough, and I know people get tired of me doing this. You have to have first rounders. You have to. Unless you're just going to settle into the pack, where Nebraska's been. To get in on that line with Ohio State and Penn State and Oregon and Michigan, you better start getting some first rounders.
Well, and Levante David wasn't a first rounder, but I think we would agree he probably should have been. Now,
that was 2012, Sean.
But I'm saying, like, the difference he could make in a game.
That's the kind of guy, yeah.
Like, you go back to Penn State on the road. Joe Paterno's the first game he's not coaching. It's 2nd and 1, and 3 straight plays: 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and inches. Guess who made all 3 tackles? Levante David,
the potential first rounder.
And this was like heavy phone booth football with tight ends, fullbacks, and he went in there and made 3 of those in a row.
And you know what else? He's still playing in the NFL. I mean, he's like 35 years old.
That's what a first rounder type talent can do. Randy Gregory, not a first rounder, but
he should have been.
You go back to the Michigan game in Ann Arbor, and they're trying to win that game. They can't do anything. Who is the guy chasing their quarterback in the 4th quarter, disrupting their final drive? Randy Gregory.
Randy Gregory was a 2nd round pick, but he fell out of the 1st round because he had some issues. right before the draft. I'll always remember it because he did pro day at Nebraska and he was spectacular. I mean, it was Randy Gregory, like breathtaking.
He looked like a puma.
He did.
I mean,
he was in great shape. He got himself in perfect shape. And then something happened before the draft and he fell. He was going to be a top 10 pick. That's the kind of guy.
Hence why Jerry Jones continued to take chances on him.
Right. Because of the Puma reference.
Well, and you think about, okay, Amir Abdullah.
Yeah.
Nebraska's playing awful against McNeese State. Like everyone's sleepwalking.
Mhm.
Guess who wins him the game and makes a play? Saved it.
Oh, Amir Abdullah saved the day that day. That day was headed toward disaster. You were going to lose on your home field.
To McNeese State.
To McNeese? It was going that way, and he broke on that final run. He broke how many tackles? You'd say 4
at least. Well, think about the Northwestern game.
Oh, they don't win.
Not the Ron Kellogg play, but the check down on 4th and like 10.
How did he get that?
And it was a check down,
right.
And he recognized it and got them the first down to set up the Hail Mary.
You don't win those games.
You need those kinds of players
to get you over the top
because it's a game of inches,
right?
Not. And those are the players that separate you in those inches moments.
So in this current roster, you hope a guy like Vincent Shavers becomes that guy. Maybe Ja'Cory Barney, or your quarterback, becomes a first rounder. If your quarterback's a first rounder, you're cooking. You hope Dane Key is that.
Deshaun McCullough.
Yeah, those guys.
McGahee.
Yeah, Willis McGahee for sure. Yeah, those guys. You hope. I'm thinking about the younger guys a little bit more.
Winery. Van Poppel, Keona Davis.
Yeah, you hope one of those guys becomes a no-doubter where you're like, oh, yeah, he's all Big Ten and he's a first-rounder.
I'm optimistic that it could be Keona Davis.
Really?
Just looking at him now at 275.
Well, I'm glad you said that because I'd say Van Poppel. So one of us, it'd be nice if one of us is right. And if both of us are right, hello, you got something. Because then it's like Crick and Sue. I mean,
then you got to pay a lot of money now to keep them, but it's good money.
Yeah, and I don't say that irresponsibly. Crick and Sue, you may never see again here. I mean, you may never. I mean, Sue, you may never see again. Crick, you could, but those two together, good
Crick
God.
And Sue with Baker Steinkühler as the rotating piece, and then your defensive ends were Barry Turner and Pierre Allen.
That's serious.
Yeah, that was a line.
That's serious. Yeah,
and then your linebacker was Phil Dillard for the 2009 season.
And he got good late.
With Hagen Gomes.
Yep.
Draft pick. Yep. I mean, loaded across the board. All right. Before we go to headline 5, again, thanks for watching Husker Online Headlines. One reminder, on May 1st, we will be live with Zipline and our friends at their new grand reopening of the West O Tap Room. Just wanted to get that on your radar. That will be a 6 p.m. Husker Online live show. There is no cover charge to go to the event. Tons of great, cheap beer, food available, as well as prizes. And maybe free Harley rides from Steve Sipple.
It'll probably be warm enough, but I don't know if they want to sanction that. There's But anyway, May 1?
May 1.
What time again?
Show will be at 6.
Okay, and the whole gang's gonna be there.
Yeah, we'll do a special live show. So that week we won't do a Friday headlines. We're just gonna do like a Thursday live.
And there'll be Abby will be there.
Abby, Robin, you and I.
Carter.
I mean, the interns will be invited.
Okay.
We won't put them on the camera probably, but
right. All right. So yeah, we'll be ready for that.
Zipline, May 1. We'll have more details, but just mark that down. We've gotten great crowds of hundreds of people at these live shows. If you haven't been to one, now's your time.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I mean, come out and shake our hands.
All right. Let's get into odds and ends. Headline 5.
Oh God, we're at 5.
Cam Jurgens.
Oh,
the pride of Pickerel, Nebraska, right outside Beatrice.
You can buy that town now, Sean.
Is getting paid. Cam Jurgens signed a new 4-year, $68 million contract that includes $39.4 million of guaranteed money to be the Eagle center through the 2029 season, reported by ESPN. I believe it averages out to like 18 million a year,
17 million per season,
which it makes him, I think, one of the 2 or 3 highest paid centers in the game.
He's such a prototypical offensive lineman in that he is so low key, so kind of nondescript in the way he comports himself. I saw him walking on campus the other day, and I had almost to do a double take. Well, there he is. He's just walking by himself, has an Eagles jacket on.
He goes and works out over there.
Yeah, he works out at Nebraska, but he doesn't draw attention to himself. He's not like when you see him in civilian clothes, he's not the hulking giant offensive lineman, that like a Zach Wiegert was, or some of those Eagles that he plays with. They have some hulking linemen on that line. He's kind of the smaller guy, but look what he's done with himself. Look what he has done. I mean, he kept developing too, because we saw him at Nebraska when it didn't always look that good from a snap perspective.
Goes back to development.
Yeah, but he always looked good from an explosion standpoint, and that's why he's earning all this money. He's so explosive.
That Oklahoma play is the one everyone always goes back to, where he drove the guy down 40 yards down the field, and they flagged him for it.
Polling center, Sean. He's a polling center. They poll him. Not easy to do.
He played running back in high school.
Yeah. He's
tight end.
You know what happens in this world? What happens with freak athletes? They make a lot of money. He's a freak athlete. That's what he is. Yeah, guys that big aren't supposed to move like him.
He's a generational, talent. I mean, I don't want to say he's like a version of Tom Kropp in this era. I mean, he was multi-champion in throws, played basketball, played football, was varsity and everything for his whole high school. He was an unbelievable athlete.
You're going to have to refresh some 20-somethings on who Tom Kropp is.
One of the 5 greatest athletes. I mean, I'm not saying Cam Jurgens is at that level yet, but Tom Kropp played in the NBA, could have played in the NFL, like was with the Steelers for a little.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
definitely played in the NBA. I know that. He played for the Washington
Was
Bullets.
a high-level thrower in track.
I know that Kropp played for the Bullets. I didn't know he was a Steeler.
Yeah, he played football and basketball both. And he was so freakishly athletic at UNK that they asked him, Kearney State in that era, they asked him to throw at a conference meet for track. He hadn't thrown in a while, and he won the conference meet.
Freak. That's a freak athlete. I mean, it's not hard to find photos of him with the Washington.
He lives in Lincoln now, Tom Kropp. He moved here.
Interesting.
I've heard that you'll see him at that Madonna workout center on 56 in Pine Lake. He's up there just working out up there now. And
I'll be darned.
One of the legends.
Yep.
But let's keep on moving the odds and ends. Portal watch, for Nebraska, portal closes Friday. It's been very quiet. I don't know if I expect that to be the case. I just think naturally there's going to be somebody on this team of note or maybe not of note that enters the portal. And
you expect a defensive back or two, right?
A defensive back. I mean, and there's players on offense. You hear things out there, and a lot of it is who's poking these guys, how much money are they poking them with?
Yeah.
And what will that do?
Yeah. I mean, you look towards guys too that maybe aren't from here. You wonder about some of those Florida guys, especially if a guy's not playing much, you wonder about. So let's just see on that. The defensive back room has 26 guys in it, 27 guys in it. That has to be pared down.
And if you're at the bottom of that group and you're not going to get rev share money.
Yeah. If you like it here, you might hang in there, or you might look around. If you're an accomplished high school player doesn't have a spot here, you're looking around probably.
And then we saw some former Huskers find new homes. Alex Bullock to South Dakota State. Mekhi Bayer goes from Missouri now to North Carolina.
Not a bad landing spot.
And, it didn't work out for him at Missouri though.
Right. No, he got passed.
And then Hardly Gilmore goes back to Kentucky after his dismissal here.
I'd say he's lucky.
And a lot of Kentucky fans, I think, were disappointed. Mark Stoops, that whole situation there is worth watching.
Were they disappointed that he came back? Is that what you're saying?
That they know that he did something wrong here, bad, and that Kentucky just willingly took him back.
If you get dismissed from a team, it's usually pretty serious.
But it also tells you how the situation that Stoops is in right now.
Got to win.
And his guarantee payout is ridiculous. Like he's almost unfireable because of how much. I mean, it's like $30-some million he'd be owed.
So you got to come up with 30 million in addition to your rev share. This is a hard time for that AD. That's stress. You know what Stoops is doing? He's putting a lot of stress on his AD. I bet I bet there's tension there.
There is. And, I was talking to our friends at KSR about that. And, I think there's a feeling that this still could be his last year, but he's owed a lot of money.
Hey, you got to come up. How are you coming up with that?
And can you get, why would anybody take a reduced amount of that money if they were promised it?
Oh, that's tricky. I mean,
like people used to get mad about Frost. Frost wasn't going to take less. Like if it's on paper, they're going to pay you that. That's what they committed to.
Right. I have a hard time asking a coach who signed a contract to take less money. I have a hard time asking a guy to
I always had a hard time with Trev Alberts kind of clawing back coaches' contracts when they agreed to the contract with them.
Yep.
And it just didn't. That doesn't go over well in the coaching industry. It makes you not be an attractive AD to work for, knowing that, hey, if I have one off year, they're going to claw my deal back.
Right. They did it. They gave Fred a haircut, Hoiberg, and they gave Frost a haircut. And that created tension.
Yeah. And you don't think coaches around the country don't know that stuff?
Yep. They do.
I mean, look, A&M, give them credit before Trev. They paid out Jimbo.
It's a different world down there.
For as hard as that $70 million check was to write.
Yeah, 76, I think. Not, you know what, though, in that world, in the oil money world, not as hard. Not as hard. They're an outlier. A&M is not a complete outlier, but there's other schools in
the
Texas.
Best part about it was a booster donated it was like $75 million, and they showed it during a game, the check. And Jimbo posed for a picture with the check.
Beautiful.
It was almost like he's like, yep, I'm winning the lottery. This is my lottery check.
That's what I mean. See, you couldn't do that. Nebraska doesn't have anybody writing a $75 million check.
Well, they have one group of people. And
they wouldn't do it, though.
And they're keeping the collective rolling.
Right, but they wouldn't do that. And they wouldn't do anything that ostentatious where, yeah, go down and, this is kind of funny. Hold that check out. The P family ain't doing that.
No,
that's not their style.
I believe that Trev, after the 3-9 season, was trying to kick the tires to see if there'd be any boosters that would be willing to help pay that buyout with him. And he got nobody was interested.
I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, Nebraskans in general don't like to write just dead money.
No, they're good stewards.
It just like people around here aren't going to say, hey, here's 10 million just to have 10 million. What's it going to pay off a coach?
Right. No,
it just it doesn't work. All right. Finally, in odds and ends, how about Harper Murray?
Jeez.
She was in Chicago at a club volleyball event, appearing for Adidas at the Windy City qualifier.
Yeah,
and look at the crowd she attracted to sign autographs.
Harper Murray.
This was not in Lincoln. This was not in Omaha, Kansas City. This was in Chicago. Let me ask you this. How many other Husker athletes, maybe other than a Dylan Raiola, and that could be a stretch, could just go to Chicago and draw this kind of crowd?
If Dylan blows up and has a big sophomore year, you could see this, but not right now. I don't think you'd see that right now. Here's the thing about Harper Murray. You can see it. You can see it if you're looking at our screen here. She has a lot of charisma.
She's the presentation of it all.
Yeah, her presence she has an enormous presence. You know what else she has that you can just see is warmth. She's just you can tell she's a nice human being. And it emanates. You don't have to, you can just see it. So that's a lot of it. And plus she's ridiculously talented. I mean, she's really talented.
If you're Danny Busboom Kelly,
hey, I think you like this.
You can just show this to recruits. Yeah, this is one of our players.
Yeah,
in Chicago.
I don't know if I'd say this can be you because you can't. Not everybody can be that.
This is what the program can do for you if you become.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine like this pro volleyball world that's in Omaha now. That's kind of taken over the two teams.
Uh-huh.
Imagine when she gets to that level.
If she does, I imagine she will.
I mean, Allie Batenhorst and Merritt Beeson and some of these former Huskers are just getting huge crowds. Wait till she's there.
And they can get their own marketing deals, right?
Right. And I mean, they can do other stuff and do whatever they got to do. But I would say like Harper Murray, she could be on the Olympic team, and she's on that track to be one of the faces of USA volleyball.
Yep.
And that's why Adidas is backing her at this level. And, I would argue that the female athletes, like the volleyball players particularly, they're better on social media and kind of promoting themselves than any football player.
She's really good at it.
Like all of them are.
Yeah. They're good at it.
Like Allie Batenhorst, Bosinger.
Yeah.
I mean, they're unreal as far as the promotion and what they do on their social media. Like there's no football players that put that kind of content out at the level they do, where they have legit followings.
And that's very meaningful in this world.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it's genuine.
We're old guys. It's not our world, but I see enough of it to think, I can see why that would be appealing to that age group,
And that's how you connect with the younger crowd, our videos and social media and things like that.
God,
so
and what a connect. You saw the line. That, you know what that is? That's connection. That's what that is. She connects with those people.
It was almost like the line to meet you at our last Zipline show.
Yeah, almost. Nobody wants to meet me.
All right. Well, full week. We're going to learn more this week. It's draft week, as I mentioned, but we're going to hear more about the schedule. We're going to hear from Pat Stewart Tuesday.
That will be interesting.
The new GM.
And
then Matt Rule on Thursday. So,
God, good week. Good week. Oh, we'll hear from Dylan this week, and we're going to hear from Emmett Johnson. So we'll have plenty of content. God, it's beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll be back Wednesday with the Husker Online show. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan signing off here for Husker Online Headlines.